up the stereotype of what the construction industry should look like by owning and running her own quarry. This is Women on Wealth, and I'm Nozi Pombandra. Tonight we profile Charmaine Botha, who co-owns Robert Quarry and Readymix. We also explore the rise of the female economy, and we do that with Kearney Cecily Carmona. And in Power Redefined, we profile Nigerian medical doctor and founder of the Flying Doctors, that's Ola Orekunrin. She was newly divorced, unemployed with 2 kids. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, she turned her life around, building a successful quarry business. I caught up with Charmaine Botha on the sidelines of the Women in Construction Excellence Awards, where she was one of this year's nominees.
My biggest disaster in my life was getting divorced. The knowledge I got through that divorce, being connected with advocates, lawyers, in and out of court, I realized that I've got it in me. From there, being divorced, raising 2 kids, there was only one way to do it, go 24 hours work, and that is what I did.
And so you decided to change professions completely. Why a profession where we hardly ever see any women?
You won't believe me, I was unemployed for 2 years after moving to Knysna, trying to get away, get rid of all the dust, moved to Knysna, overqualified in all my jobs, and this man, my friend, my next door neighbor, actually told me she's moving out, but she's got a person that's looking for a bookkeeper. Now in this time, in between, I took an brilliant accounting, and I taught myself to do brilliant accounting. And she told me that she couldn't take the job, but you can have it. And we did an interview, quick one, Mr. Emmanuel, my current partner. And he said to me, Charmaine, pleased to meet you. Can you do the job? I said, yes. He says, how much do you want? I said, 1,500 rand. Half-day job, 2 kids. And you know what, I was employed.
So how do you move from 1,500 rands a month to being a 50% owner and 90% runner of the company?
Hard work. We first were in a plant hiring business. From there we went and we bought 2 quarries, one sand quarry, one other quarry, where I had to get to know this. And the only way to get to know something is by getting to know it. That means going into the plant, see how every product is manufactured, see how they fix it. Are the mechanics there? Is the boiler making there? Are they just doing some things with keeping stuff together with little pieces of steel, or are they doing...
But were you intimidated? I mean, we don't always think about women in the quarry taking the responsibilities that you're talking about.
I'm a runner. You won't believe me that I'm a go-getter. I want to know it all. I didn't only want to know the books. I want to know every wheel, every truck that goes out the yard. I wanted to know it all. I did it.
You did it in essence, and now that you're one of those women who are in the industry, in fact the only woman that I've seen in this conference hall, what is it like being in the construction and quarry business where there's just men around you?
Magic, magic. Any woman can do it.
Yeah.
Any woman can do it. I always say I'm a phone call away. And there's a man, Peter Emmanuel, if he didn't open that door, and if I didn't see the open door, I wouldn't have been here.
Do you think that's the problem that women sometimes have? We don't see the open door?
We don't see the door. And we don't realize the door. And another thing is, if you've got the passion, and you believe in it, and the door's open, you take it. Because it might happen not this year, not next year, but if your hands are open, you'll get it.
But you don't sound fazed by the industry at all, because we all have these misconceptions in our head that there are certain industries that are really tough for women. Is this job tough for you at all?
No. If you've got qualified people that work with you night and day, I'm a workaholic. I get to know how to do the things. Explain to me again, how do you do it? Okay, tell me this again. And I actually teach them and they teach me. And they can't go without me and I can't go without them. And no, it's easy for them to. But you must look at the door, watch the door. That door opens for every one of us.
And once you're inside the door, Charmaine, how do you make sure that you stay afloat and you do a very good job at it?
You work. Not only with your hands, your mind. You must remember, there's one thing that women's got. I don't want to break men down. A woman is a multitasking person, and we are created like that. We cook. While we cook, we do the washing. While we do the washing, we do the looking after the children. We're multitasking. We take the phone, we smoke a cigarette, we're talking to the person, having a video, and then we are still sitting with paperwork in front of us, taking messages.
A piece of advice that you would say to that woman who's in that space that you were a couple of years ago, emerging from a divorce, what would you advise them?
You have to be strong. When I say strong, men are strong, but women are stronger. But it's the way that they approach men. If you approach the men in the wrong way, you won't get there. You must approach them in the right way. Show them you can do the job. Take the job out of their hands and make it your own. Then it's yours.
South Africa is making slow progress in terms of the number of women taking center stage in business. The Commission for Employment Equity says that the percentage of women in top management has grown by only 6% in a decade. I sat down with AT Kearney Cecily Carmona to break down the female economy.
So the growing female economy is all about more women in business, more women interacting with other women in business, and more women interacting with men in business. So whereas before we've had a completely male-dominated business sector, particularly at top levels, more and more we're seeing women filtering in, and this means a changing dynamic in the economy as a whole.
We talk about business-to-business transactions and the prevalence of women in those decision-making processes. Why does this matter that we have more women there?
So we've always known that women are buyers. We buy goods all the time, predominantly for households in the past. But now with more women in business, more and more we're seeing women actually making the buying decisions, big buying decisions for companies. So taking the reins in procurement and buying products and services for business. Why this is important is because we've asked the question, is there a difference in women buying from men buying? And is there a different approach required to sell to a woman buyer than to sell to a male buyer?
And is there a different approach that companies need to consider because women are in charge of buying and selling in the most part?
Well, in the research that we conducted, we found an overwhelming response that there is a difference in the buying behavior. But it goes beyond buying, it's also in decision making. How do women generally make decisions? We need to bear in mind that individuals are different and your approach would be very different from my approach. But saying that, on the whole, we can see that there is, women are more inclusive. When they make a decision, so they tend to ask for more opinion. They ask their colleagues and contemporaries for their opinion. It's not to say that they're not decisive. Once they have the opinion, they are decisive. They also use a bigger balance between intuition and fact. So we tend to think a little bit more on what we call gut feel. Again, it's not to say that we don't look at facts, we don't look at the figures, we very much take that into consideration. But it's important for us, how does it sit with us at a gut feel? And then the third response that we found that was overwhelming difference with women decision makers is that they take into context a cultural fit and a values fit more than men do when they're making a buying decision.
How do you respond then to the criticism that this collaborative and consultative process takes away from the agility of a company and the ability to respond quickly to a changing landscape?
It's not a consultative process that goes on for weeks and weeks. It's more a case of women trusting opinions from a few specific advisors, getting that advice. But also, it can be argued that actually it speeds up the process later on, because there's less disruption once you've had a consultative process, once you've had input from people. The decision is more likely to be taken on board by a full audience down the line, and therefore have less disruption.
How do companies then harness this and translate it into a competitive edge?
Companies need to bring this a little bit more into the consciousness of their workforce. I think at the moment we are just seeing more women rising into top positions. So there hasn't really, despite the fact that we put a lot of emphasis on BE and bringing black women particularly into our top management positions. But what we need to do now is raise the awareness of men that decisions can be made differently. It actually can become a competitive advantage for a company to understand the person that they are selling to, understand how they would make decisions, and therefore orientate their sales and products and services specifically to that woman and how they might buy.
Does your research say anything about racial differences? Would black women have the same consumption behaviors as white women, Indian women?
We didn't specifically look at racial divides within women and how that could be different. But one thing that did come out very strongly was that diversity is key. So all types of diversity, not only bringing women into the workforce, but having a good mix of people. And big companies like Google have done this right from the start. And they believe that it is absolutely central to understanding their customers and their clients. And our interviewees felt the same, that diversity was central to the way that we're going to be doing business going forward.
Every week we bring you a woman who is flexing her power muscles on the global stage. Let's take a look at Nigerian medical doctor Ola Orekunrin. This Nigerian-British medical doctor and entrepreneur qualified in medicine at age 21, making her one of the United Kingdom's youngest doctors. At 25, Ola founded Flying Doctors Nigeria, the first air ambulance service in West Africa for critically injured or sick people. She has been recognized by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader, a group the forum describes as the best of today's leaders under the age of 40. Ola is also a New Voices Fellow at the prestigious Aspen Institute. That's all from Women on Wealth this week. Do make sure to make the time to catch us next week, same time, same place. And talk to us on Twitter in the interim. That's following me at @NoziPombandra. And remember that our hashtag is WOW410. Send us your suggestions of the woman you'd like to see on the couch. Until next time, stay empowered.